Hey, baby, we're going from Brooklyn to the barn today. It is a brand new Village
What?
Vice. He is Zach Blackerby, and I am Brad Law, and I am in a hotel room in Brooklyn. And you know what? You know what hotel rooms are notorious for, Zach? That's good Wi-Fi. So
You seem
hopefully,
okay. You seem
yeah,
well connected as we record
good,
this morning.
good. Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully it stays that way. We're one day away from Auburn basketball against Notre Dame. We are just 3 days away from Auburn football against New Mexico State,
Sure.
and 10 days away from the Iron Bowl. So there you have it. And Zach, we're going to get into some stat time today. I love stat time. We're going to talk a little offense and a little defense. And it's a fun time to be an Auburn fan here in mid-November.
No question about it. All right, let's start on the offensive side of the football, Brad, specifically looking at the wide receivers. And you and I have talked about this. It's hard to listen to any or consume any type of Auburn content and this not be a storyline. But when you look at when Auburn's inside receivers, slot receivers, or Rivaldo Fairweather are targeted versus when the traditional outside receivers are targeted, it's just a crazy difference regarding efficiency. So Jay Fair, Rivaldo Fairweather, Javarius Johnson, I'm just going to go over their receiving percentage. All of these guys have been targeted more than most of the outside guys. So Jay Fair, when he's thrown to, he's catching it 73% of the time. Rivaldo, 76.9% of the time. Javarius Johnson, 68.4% of the time, right? If that's your completion percentage, you are happy, and Auburn's winning football games, right? So when Auburn goes to an outside receiver, Shane Hooks has been thrown to 22 times, reception percentage of 40.9%.
It's lower than I expected.
It's low. And he has not been targeted the last 2 weeks, Brad, for what that's worth. For what that's worth. Cam Brown has been thrown to 16 times. He's caught it 8. That is a 50% reception percentage. Malcolm Johnson, 11 targets, 5 catches. That's 45%. And then Amari Kelly, 7 targets, 2 catches. That is 28.6%.
Yeah.
So when you look at what your completion percentage is going to the slot guys, Jay Fair, Rivaldo Fairweather, and Javarius Johnson versus going to these outside guys.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
Well, there's a direct correlation then to why those guys have 30, and 13 catches. It's why they're leading the team in catches. Right. The guys who catch the ball most consistently are the guys who are going to get the most targets. And you have to do that. You can't take a 50-50 or less chance on plays in the Iron Bowl. You may be able to against New Mexico State a little more, but for the sake of keeping things in rhythm, you can't waste plays and not waste plays. You can't take a 40% chance on a play. Why would you take a 40% chance when you take a 70% chance?
And sometimes it does feel like they're wasting it. I mean, there was a stretch there early in the season, and they're throwing to these guys less now than they were at the start of the year. It's one of the many things that have changed about this offense. But on third down, I mean, they would go to Shane Hooks often.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it never worked. And then we saw it go, they threw it to Camden Brown 4 times this last week in Arkansas. None of them resulted in any sort of offensive production. And I believe 2 of those 4 were on third down, which Auburn then had to turn around and punt, bring on Oscar Chapman and punt the football. So I do wonder in the Iron Bowl, New Mexico State, it is what it is. Because I think you can make the argument for New Mexico State to go to these guys more and just kind of see if they can get involved and kind of feel something, right? Kind of get in that groove. Also possible tendency breakers. Seems like Hugh Freeze is into that as well. So, but in the Iron Bowl, do they go to Jay Fair and Javarius Johnson or Rivaldo Fairweather more on third down? I don't know, Brad. And to be honest, I'm shocked how much they throw it on third and short. I'm just going to be honest with the way they're running the football right now. If it's 3rd and 4 or fewer, I'd almost prefer them run the football.
You know what's interesting, though, Zach, is they did try running the ball a little more on third down earlier in the year, and it did not work. Now, that was before Jarquez patience became a focal point. So maybe that changes.
And who else? Payton Thorne has become a significantly better runner down the stretch, too.
That's
the whole running game has just evolved. I think the offensive line has gelled more. There's so many components that go into an effective running game. You and I both know that. So I feel much more comfortable about that. Now, there was a really clutch, I think it was on the first drive of the game against Arkansas, where it was like a keeper for Peyton, and it was a 3rd and 3, and he found a way to get across the line. So I love the idea of Auburn running on 3rd and 4th or fewer right now, instead of going to some of these outside receivers.
You're talking about the Auburn quarterback who has more rushing yards than Jalen Milroe on fewer attempts. Peyton Thorne, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Just making sure.
No, you're always thorough. I appreciate that, Bradley. I appreciate that. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball here.
All right.
Nehemiah Pritchett, Auburn's corner, has been targeted 17 times this season, which is low for a starting corner. Usually tells which says they don't want to go that way. He did miss the first few games.
Right.
So he's allowed just 6 catches, Brad. That's 35%, 68 yards all season. And in that, he's had a pick and 2 pass breakups. If he was an NFL corner, he would be allowing a 23.7 NFL passer rating.
Man. And that's on the other side of DJ James.
That's right.
Coach Free said Nehemiah's played his best 2 games the last 2 weeks. Isn't it interesting that you're hearing the same refrain about a number of guys defensively? Linebackers have played their best the last 2 or 3 weeks. Nehemiah's played his best the last 2 or 3 weeks. When you can take out a couple of components in the passing game, when both of your corners become these shutdown type guys, whenever they target a cornerback and they're only going to complete it about a third of the time, and that's just a completion. That doesn't necessarily mean first down or, the drive continues. It's just the completion. Man, you talk about if he was an NFL cornerback, he'll be there. He'll be there because what he's doing is pretty incredible. You're taking away components of the other team's passing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the fact usually like the number 2 corner gets picked on more.
Yeah,
when the first corner is as good as DJ James is, but that's not the case here because Nehemiah is holding his own. And Nehemiah, I think, gets a lot of crap from the Auburn fan base that is not deserved. Okay. I'm just going to be honest. Over the course of his entire career, I think he's been underestimated by his own fan base. And now I think folks are starting to see it. And I'm really happy for that guy.
What now, Zach, you're the DB guy, right? I mean, you're the
I love corners. I love them.
So break down Nehemiah Pritchett and DJ James for us, if you will. What makes them such quality corners? What makes them successful? What do they do well?
Yeah, they're both physical, and I think they're both very intentional whenever they're going to a certain spot. They're not just floating around, whether they're in zone or in man. They know what their assignment is, and they attack it. They're both aggressive players. DJ's got more of a knack of playing the ball when it's in the air. I think Nehemiah Pritchett is just such a good athlete, and he's so big for what he's able to do athletically. He can stay with other guys longer than a lot of corners his size can. So I do think they do different things, but they're both extremely aggressive, and they both play in this scheme so well. And I think a lot of it just has to do with they're more athletic and better than the opposing wide receivers on the outside. And I think they also understand that, like, at the college level, you don't have to be perfect. And so they're able to kind of create these windows and then use their speed and explosiveness to close on the football when it's in the air. And they're both really, really good at that.
Yeah.
So
the last 3 Auburn opponents have passed for about, on average, 150 yards a game. The last 3 opponents have been trailing from very early in the game. So you would think they would be passing the ball more. They're just not having success because Auburn's corners don't allow a lot of success.
Yeah, and Vandy kind of ran out there. It kind of seemed like they wanted to pass the football. They've got that receiver that they really like. His name is escaping me at the moment. They went to him early. Excuse me. So sorry. But they went to their receiver that they liked early and often, and then they just couldn't anymore. Mississippi State was going with their backup quarterback, but he threw it like 40-something times, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was a lot because they were down by so much. And it just, I think he threw for 50% in that game. And so Auburn's DBs just, they took care of that one. And then KJ, he didn't have enough time to throw the ball last week against Arkansas. I mean, the pass rush was just so relentless. So,
that again, though, that's what a recipe for success, right?
100%.
Grab an early lead, put the other team into predictable passing situations, and then have two corners who allow a catch a third of the time. Baby, you're going to win a bunch of games. Why
are you saying baby so much
that's
today?
Your formula. Huh?
Why are you saying baby so much today? Are you fired up that you're in Brooklyn?
Maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah. They say that a lot here, I've found.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the Brooklyn culture, I've never been. Yeah. Never been. And I don't watch movies.
Brooklyn culture is big on baby.
Okay. What's been the other than the word baby, what else has stood out the most about your trip to Brooklyn so far?
It's been about it. We got in late last night and had an ice cream bar at the hotel. That was kind of nice.
Really?
Yeah.
What
today is exploration day. Huh?
What'd you go with for the ice cream bar?
Oh, Zach. Little vanilla, little chocolate, little Reese's on top.
Strong.
Just, you need that at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night.
Did you notice any of the players that just went all out on the ice cream bar that you were impressed with their ice cream game?
Oh, have you ever seen basketball players eat? They all went all out. Like they all had these massive, like they're trying to replicate the skyscrapers in Manhattan with their ice cream. Sure.
Got it.
All of them. Nobody stood out because they all just went nuts.
They're all, they're big boys. They got to eat.
That's right.
Are they saying baby more, or do you think that's just a you thing?
You know what? I think I've heard KD say it. I don't know, but then again, you hear KD say everything. KD is so loud. KD is the loudest human being that I've ever been around in my entire life.
That's a statement because you've been around a lot of athletes and a lot of big personalities. But I believe you.
He's so
100% believe you.
He is so loud, and you're smiling all the time. No, today's exploration day, by the way. Times Square and a bunch of other cool stuff, and then we're going to go find one of the really nice. So I'm separate from the team tonight. So I'm going to explore and find one of those really nice Brooklyn restaurants. So anyway,
cool, man.
Not that everybody needed to know that, baby. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we'll get a recap on that when we record the show tomorrow.
That's right.
All right. You know what else will have you saying baby a lot? MyBookie.ag. There we go. And make your free account at MyBookie.ag. And then when you make your first deposit, use promo code BABY. Just kidding. Promo code next round to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000, baby. You want to ride or die with MyBookie.ag. Once again, use promo code next round. You get a bunch of extra cheddar. I think Auburn's favored by 21.5 at MyBookie.ag. So if you feel passionate about that, you're like, well, we beat Arkansas by more than that on the road. We should be able to beat New Mexico State by more than that at home. I'm there with you. I think Auburn covers on Saturday. So once again, MyBookie.ag, use promo code next round. I want to go back to the offensive side of the football for a second, Brad, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
This is from Kevin on Twitter. He tweeted this to me. I did no research on this because Kevin did it for me.
So you're just taking a tweet and you're running with it.
He tagged me. I feel like that's a, hey, you can have this, right?
Sure.
And I'm giving credit.
It's almost a DM.
It's a public DM is what it is.
That's exactly right. We prefer public DMs, by the way.
What are you hinting at?
Nothing.
That it? You done? Okay. Rivaldo Fairweather.
For now.
Rivaldo Fairweather needs 3 catches and 108 yards to catch John Samuel Shanker as the single season record holder for catches and yards for a tight end in Auburn history, which is wild because they didn't use him in the passing game the first game of the season. But man, down this stretch, he's been a key part of it.
Yep. And I think he will sail right by those numbers, don't you? I mean, I don't think it will be close.
Yeah, I feel better about the reception record than the yardage record. Because with other than that big one that he had against Vandy, a lot of his stuff hasn't been like chunk plays. It's just been, impressive because a lot of it was in the red zone and touchdowns and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess he's got the play at Cal on the third down conversion on the last drive that was down the seam. That and the Vandy touchdown probably makes up 30% of his yardage for the season, those two plays alone. So, yeah, red zone weapon. That's a good point. Now, the question is, do you see him, to go back to the first point that we're making, do you line him up at the outside? Do you just target him more as a regular part of the passing game outside of the red zone? Do we see more of that in the Iron Bowl? Maybe that pushes him over that mark. But
yeah, I don't think Auburn has a ton of pass catchers that can just win one-on-one matchups against Alabama's defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rivaldo offers a mismatch with his size and ability to high point the football.
Yep.
That you're going to have to target. So I will say that he gets more than 108 yards, especially if he plays in the bowl game.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You got 3 games left. So can he get 35, 40, 35 yards a game?
How confident are you that Rivaldo plays in the bowl game?
Pretty confident. Yeah, I think so. I think
he's a draft pick as it sits right now.
Yeah, but I think, yeah. And while I haven't heard him specifically talk about it, I have heard a lot of guys on this team talk about the importance of making the game, playing in a bowl game, having the opportunity to play in another game. Yeah. And so I don't think you'll see the same high volume of guys sitting out that you might under normal circumstances. So now, again, Rivaldo wasn't here last year. He didn't miss out on it last year at Auburn. He is draft eligible. It's more possible, I guess, with him, but I think the culture right now is most of the guys will play. If I had to
guess. Kind of the feel I'm having too. But some of the draft picks, I do wonder. Like, I don't think it makes sense for DJ James to play in a bowl game. I don't think it makes sense for Nehemiah Pritchett to play in a bowl game. And I also think you can make the argument for the defensive backs. It's better for Auburn next year if you let Kay and Lee play a full game and some of these other guys play a full game. But
oh no, look, that's a separate conversation altogether. Bowl games, if you're not playing for if it's not a playoff bowl game, I have often thought let all of the young guys play. Give them a full game. Now, if you have a senior who just says, "Look, I want the experience of playing," then of course you honor what that guy wants to do. Right. You honor what the players want to do, but strategically, that should be a game for all of your young players, the guys who have a major role coming up for you next year. Go ahead and get them a game that doesn't hurt you to lose. I've never thought bowl losses were a big deal. I just, play them like exhibitions and get those young guys playing time.
Yeah. So yeah, those are that's stat time for this week.
It's a really good stat time. Can I tell you about lanceslock.com?
Sure can.
All right. If you're playing NFL, if you're playing college football, if you're playing NBA, college basketball season is here as well. Lance's Lock is the place to go. Lance is having a good year. And so you want to go to lanceslock.com to help you make your picks. Right now, you can get monthly packages, annual packages, and you can get a really good deal on monthly and annual packages. Just go to lanceslock.com. Once again, that's lanceslock.com.
All right, Brad, when you look at this matchup on Saturday with New Mexico State coming into town, this is a New Mexico State team that I think is a lot better than this team we thought would look at the start of the season. They're winning a bunch of games. They really, really like their quarterback. What's your mindset going into this? Because I'm not in this whole camp where like, oh, New Mexico State could really like mess it up. Like you can't look ahead type thing. I'm not really in that headspace this week. Should I be?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think from a standpoint of New Mexico State can win the game. I think that could Auburn come out and look sloppy because they weren't focused and respecting the opponent the way you should. I do believe you should respect every opponent. And I think Coach Freeze talked about that in his Monday press conference. And the players have talked about still being hungry. And so for that reason, I don't think you're going to see any sort of letdown. But that's if you talk possibility and feasibility, it's possible that the players are looking ahead a little bit to the Iron Bowl. And, now you see this momentum that you've created over the last 3 games. and you go, all right, things are going fine now. But I think because the first half of the season was such a struggle, now that things are going well, now that they've seen what it is to stack wins, and they know the work you do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to stack those wins, I would expect that that's the same formula that they're putting in place now. By the way, when is the last time Auburn won 4 straight games?
Did they do it in 19?
Did it to start 19. They won 5 in a row to start the 2019 season. Not since then have they won 4 games. That is crazy to me that it's taken this long to get back to that spot. But that's where they are.
That is crazy because the first year of Harsin, they
won 2, but then went to Penn State.
Right. Because we were in a situation where like, oh, if we beat A&M, we're a top 10 team.
Yeah.
And then that didn't happen. And then we lost a lot after that. But it's because we went to Penn State. That's right. That makes sense.
That's right.
That makes sense. And boy, do people love a quality loss these days. It's wild. Watching that CFP thing last night, Kirk Herbstreit, who I think is the best in the business, loves pointing out quality losses. He loves it. So, all right.
You know, the playoff deal, and it will be more this way next year and beyond. What's frustrating about the NCAA tournament is when we talk basketball is that the criteria seems to shift year by year. It's going to be even more that way with football. Well, is it about quality losses or is it about quality wins? Is it about how you finish or is it total body of work? I promise you that's going to be more frustrating for fans to talk about over the course of the next few years once the expanded playoff is implemented. But
yeah, I think so. And like, I've got a real problem that Washington's still at 5. Like that just doesn't, like, I don't know how you can watch them and think that there are 4 teams better.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, Ohio State at 1 for a few weeks was really, really strange to me. Michigan, I get why they're at 3 because they haven't played anybody, but they're just destroying everyone. So I get it. I get it. But like FSU is not better than Washington. I firmly believe that. But when you look at what's coming, I'm sorry, Brad, but when you look at what's coming up, it's like I see what they're doing. Like if Washington wins out or whatever, like they're gonna be in, right? So I don't know if the CFP committee is really ever messed up. I think their means of getting there by the end of the season's a little wonky.
Yeah.
But I think they've gotten it right every year as far as maybe not the order, but I think they've gotten the right 4 teams every year.
Yeah. I I detest the fact that we put out playoff rankings right now. I don't think that's necessary. I don't like that the NCAA tournament puts out top 4 seeds before Selection Sunday. And that's not just old school, get off my lawn type stuff. That's why it doesn't mean it. It's TV programming. It's talking points. We already have rankings. We have the AP and the coaches polls. You can do away with a lot of this negative discussion and drama by just saving the selections for the end.
But we want the drama. Like, let's be honest. We want the drama, Brad. We want it. We crave it.
But what was wrong with looking at your schedule in the middle of November and you're ranked number 5 in the AP poll and saying, yeah, but you know what? If Washington loses or Florida State loses or if Texas loses or if any of these teams lose, then we're going to slide up. And what's wrong with that? You had that drama anyway.
So your issue is with the CFP committee. You don't think we need it?
I don't think we need the rankings before Selection Day. Just like the NCAA tournament. We have polls, we have rankings, and then when the committee makes their selections, then they justify them, and then you're done. Then you can react to that all you want to. What does it matter to react? Look, we're in a content creating world. We're doing it right now. Totally understand that. Totally understand it.
Yeah.
But what all the hand wringing and the gnashing of teeth that we do on November, something that starts with a 1 over college football rankings, that doesn't mean anything a week later or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. It doesn't flipping matter, baby. So I just don't like it. Get off my lawn.
That's okay. That's okay.
Florida State, by the way, Florida State, best wins, right? Total just domination of LSU in the second half on Labor Day. They beat Clemson on the road in overtime. They beat Duke in a home game, beat them pretty good by 18 points. Those are their best wins.
Yeah, and it looks like they'll get a chance for another top 10 win when they play Louisville.
Sure. Yeah.
So
those wins aren't better than Washington's wins.
No. And Washington, I mean, that win against Oregon was huge. And then they're playing Oregon State this weekend.
They beat Utah last week.
Yeah.
And they beat USC. I mean, they have good wins. Anyway.
Yeah, and they're very good.
Yeah.
Penix is the man. Brad, I think that about does it for today's show, baby.
It does. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Until next time, remember, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.